are about to listen to the Dr. Dahlia Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Dahlia Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Dahlia.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Dahlia Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So one thing that really annoyed me yesterday is people were saying that the Artemis launch was an April Fool's joke, that NASA got all of us. And I'm like, no, this is really happening. And even NASA had to go out there saying, no, this isn't an April Fool's joke. One of my friends even direct messaged me going, I can't believe I fell for it. I really thought NASA was, sending astronauts out there today. And I'm like, but they did. I mean, I saw the launch. Oh, it was incredible. Actually, Daniel, if you got some audio of that, let's play some of that.
9, 8, 7. RS-25 engines lit. 4, 3, 2, 1. Booster ignition. And liftoff. The crew of Artemis 2 now bound for the moon. Humanity's next great voyage begins.
Oh, so cool. You feel it in your heart. Interestingly, my son's buddy who works at NASA was there, front row, took some selfies. And I was like, very, very cool. It happened. It really happened. None of this April Fool's BS. And it was fantastic. So the Artemis 2 mission took off. Beautiful skies. You could see. You could see it travel for a while. It was a little eerie. I always get a little nervous, because on January 28th, 1986, as a little kid, I'm watching again the Space Shuttle Challenger. And then watching it and being all excited and then seeing it break. And then I go, I don't think that was supposed to happen. And then we all it was silence. And while people were trying to figure out what just happened. And so unfortunately when there was that, and I think you all know the scene, when you're watching it up there in the sky, I was praying and I held my breath. But fortunately, it went well. Mission Specialist Jeremy Hansen of Canada, Mission Specialist Christina Koch, Commander Reed Weissman, and Pilot Victor Glover. I believe what a great team. Great team. Happy. I think they're asleep right now. I think they're now it's their nighttime. But the rocket is about 322 feet. They have the Orion capsule, which Hansen, Koch, Weissman, and Glover are in. They're going to be spending about 25 hours circling Earth. Then the Orion capsule hurls them towards the moon. The moon is 244,000 miles away. It's about 3 days to get from Earth's orbit to the moon. Then they're going to zip 5,000 miles on flight day 6, according to The Hill. They're going to go beyond the moon before flying around it. This is the furthest distance, all right, any humans have traveled from Earth. So this is historic. And they're hopefully going to be able to see and capture never before seen regions of the lunar far side of the moon. And so it's going to be pretty cool. Now, people are asking, why aren't they landing on the moon? The Orion doesn't have the landing capabilities. They say that aspect of NASA's mission is going to happen later on. They're not going to necessarily orbit the moon. NASA is using this mission to test Orion's life-supporting equipment, give the crew time to practice using it. So they're going to return to Earth fairly quickly. The splashdown in the Pacific is planned for flight day 10. So they're only supposed to be gone for about 10 days. They say in total, the Artemis mission is expected to take 9 days, 1 hour, and 46 minutes. Now, for those of you chuckling, going, yeah, exactly that. Have you ever used GPS and Google Maps? I got to tell you, the suckers are right on the money. So I wouldn't be surprised. So luckily it went through. They seem to be doing well and happy. We're going to be definitely getting updates on this, but this Artemis mission Artemis 2 is Fantastic. Every time something like this happens, there's always debate, and on the first moon landing, and that's interesting because you have scientists, and there's been individuals who I have family and friends in engineering who worked at JPL Labs and NASA, and they're pretty adamant that the first moon landing didn't happen. Now, I believe it did. I don't really think in the 60s they tried to manipulate and make it a Hollywood set and all that. And I know that I forget which astronaut was being interviewed 10, 15 years ago and said it didn't happen, but I think that was taken out of context. But the reason why the debate is there is because they're debating, who was videotaping, how were they getting audio when they didn't have that technology? Well, the audio was different audio. It wasn't film and audio at the same time. What they gave us on TV was combined technology. Why was the flag furloughing? There's not supposed to be wind. So there's been a lot of debate, but I believe it happened. I believe we landed on the moon. But the one thing that is very troubling and confusing is the argument of well, if we landed on the moon once, why haven't we been able to do it again? Now, I remember in the 80s, people would say, if they could put a man on a moon, why don't they put all of them? Now, I like men, so I don't, so I'm thinking, hey, if they could, land on the moon, put Congress there. But the, shall we say, scientific explanation I was given by engineers is the plans and how they built the spaceship to be able to land on the moon. They couldn't replicate now. And that's interesting because here we are in 2026 and we still can't land on the moon. Now, it sounds like NASA is working on that and it will happen. And that is going to happen again. And so we'll be able to put that theory to rest because our astronauts, left, their mark there, and we'll be able to see the flag and all that, hopefully, as long as there wasn't any, moon dust that blew it over. But it is fascinating what we could do, and this is huge, and this is very historic. So way to go, astronauts, NASA, and Artemis 2. 1-877 Doc Dolly, don't go away.
This is an urgent announcement for anyone that's $10,000 or more in debt. Before you make another minimum payment, you need to know there are special programs that can completely free you of your debt. Total Financial Freedom can help you become debt-free in months instead of years. Resolve your credit card debt, signature loans, department store cards, internet loans, and timeshares. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020 for a free consultation. For 16 years, Total Financial Freedom has helped thousands get out of debt. You can feel confident when calling because Total Financial Freedom is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Battling for years and years, stuck in the endless cycle of minimum payments could take decades. You have the right to get your debt resolved and substantially reduce your monthly payments. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020. That's 800-878-6020. 800-878-6020.
Many people avoid life-saving colonoscopy screenings due to unexpected costs. New federal report language urges CMS to make clear patients should have access to all FDA-approved bowel preparations that meet medical standards without cost sharing. Gastroenterologist Dr. Eric Shaw has more.
Despite a federal requirement that preventive colorectal cancer screenings be covered, our analysis found that bowel preparation medications, an essential part of a colonoscopy, often aren't covered by insurance. Clear CMS guidance could help patients access the most effective, more tolerable FDA-approved PrEP.
Despite this, analysis shows 83% of patients still face costs for bowel prep medications.
The quality of the colonoscopy depends entirely on how clean the colon is. If the bowel prep doesn't work well, polyps and cancer can be missed and the patient can need to repeat the procedure, delaying diagnosis and increasing cost.
Visit asge.org to learn more and contact your elected representative to ensure approved bowel prep is covered without cost.
back on the Dr. Dolly Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Doc-Dolly, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, my producer. And big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Dahlia, Facebook, The Dr. Dahlia Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So I was hearing some students talk about how one of them is really, really happy that they're single because they hated getting dumped. And why go through all that trauma of getting dumped? They got to study, they got to focus on school, focus on their life. They're avoiding the getting dumped. And interestingly, there was an article where a psychotherapist was saying we need to stop using that term getting dumped. It makes her cringe whenever she hears it. See, I got dumped. I've been dumped. I use that word all the time. Unless I didn't think I was the one dumped. If we separated, if we felt like this isn't working out, dumped suggests or connotes you dumping out the trash. Like to me, the picture of being dumped is you riding on the person's back and that person doesn't want you anymore. So they're just going to dump you off, throw you off, and go about their life, and then you're on the ground. Maybe the psychotherapist is right who writes his article on that, because I never felt that way. I always joked about it. Go, yeah, we went out, and then I got dumped, and then I got, but was it really a dumping? And everybody's definition is different, but my definition of being dumped is you are parasitically attached to this relationship. And the person finally frees themselves from this other person who's a parasite and finally gets rid of them and dumps them and doesn't look behind. Like the trash. You ever go back and, well, I do, because I always accidentally throw stuff out. I'm like, no, that was a cat toy. But it's multifaceted, the process. You're a parasite, you get thrown to the side. Not that you're a true parasite, but that's how the dumping looks. That person dumps you, frees themselves, is now free, never looks back, and you're on the ground in a pile of trash. So it really isn't, I don't think, a proper term, except there are some individuals where I know many of you guys are nodding, going, yeah, I had somebody like that in my life, and I had to dump them. Unload them. And that's a shame. It's a shame the relationship got that far, that there had to be a dumping. But it finally happened, and now this person is free. So should I, having been dumped, was I really dumped? Well, dumping also suggests there was a long-term relationship. I wasn't really in a lot of long-term relationships. I was in school, I was studying, I didn't have time. When you're in school, your primary focus is school. It's not, the dude I'm dating. And so they're going to feel neglected. And I don't want them to feel neglected, but I had to make a choice. And I really was never in any long-term relationships. And so I never really could say I got dumped. It's just, if they wanted me to be booty call and I wasn't going to be, the relationship just didn't move further forward. It wasn't dumped because I didn't really want to be with them then, if that's what they wanted. So dumping really does have a different connotation. And so maybe the psychotherapist is correct. Let me give credit where credit is due. Hillary Jacobs Hendel. She says that it argues a layer of shame. She argues it's a layer of shame to an already painful loss. Now, on the other end, when some people say that, they could be saying that because they want the victim's sympathy. And which might be a way for them to heal, where, they're like, yeah, we broke up. Well, why? Why did you let him go? What did you do? And they go, I didn't want to. This wasn't me. He just dumped me, or she just dumped me. Oh no. Okay, we got your back, dude. We got your back, bro. We got your back. Come on. Well. And so sometimes people are using that term because they feel like it just wasn't their fault. There was, and again, something I also disagree with, because usually it takes two to tango, but they need that label so they get the sympathy. Me, I really didn't like using that label because then it meant I was the loser. That means I lost. See, if you were dumped, it means you didn't want to be dumped. It means you wanted to be still on the back of that piggyback, or you still want to be a part of that or in that truck. You didn't want to be dumped. And a lot of the relationships that ended in my life, I wanted them ended. I was not really I can't think of one person. You know how everybody has the one that slipped away. I really messed up with this person. I should have not let them go. I never had that because I'm still with Corey. Now, can I screw that up? And then could he dump me? Yeah, so it could happen. But I've never had that person in my life where, oh man, I had them and I let them go, or I screwed up, or I cheated and then they dumped me. So I never had that feeling. So, maybe a lot of us are using the term, inappropriately. But let's say you are dumped, and let's say it's not that you were parasitic, because I know the term like trash. When you dump the trash, there's that denotation or connotation or implied meaning that it's something that the person doesn't want, so they dump it out. It's something toxic. It's something that is something that is averse. So, what could happen? What could be happening in the term being used inappropriately? So let's say you're with somebody and you're thinking the relationship's going great and you love them and they fall out of love with you, or they're like, you know what? This isn't where I want my life to go. I want to go somewhere else. And now you feel like, oh no, I always thought that I was hitched to your wagon, and now we're going to unhitch. You're going to feel alone. You're going to feel, but then you could use a word, we separated. That's not just for married people. You could, in the dating world, say, we separated. We were together, we were hitched, we were close, and we unhitched. And we're separated, and now we're going our separate ways. Now, in marriage, separation suggests a temporary, as opposed to a divorce, where another D word there. But in the dating world, you don't necessarily have to say you were dumped. Because it's honest also to say you guys separated. Now, maybe you didn't want to separate, and maybe you tried to superglue yourself to the relationship, but it happens, and it's okay. And by the way, anybody that I separated from or separated from me, right, when we were dating, and I'll stop using the word dumped because I don't really think I was dumped, because dumped suggests I really, really wanted to be with them. No, Dirk. No, we're not bringing up Dirk because I didn't want to be with Dirk. Everybody always brings up Dirk. I'll tell you about Dirk later. So maybe, just be honest. Now, we're not together anymore. Well, why not? Well, none of your damn business. We wanted different things. Wanting different things is a very honest answer. And it's okay. And like I said, it's also okay to say none of your business. This is a decision I'm happy with. This is a decision, And then let's say you do feel like you were dumped and somebody separated from you prematurely. And now you feel like you're all embarrassed. And we talked about that. Unfortunately, some of these individuals that commit horrible crimes is because they feel that rejection. They were dumped. They feel that rejection. Then they go and do bad things. So, I know sometimes you might be mad. Say, well, that sucks. I gave you, my youth. I gave you the good years. I gave you all this time. I gave you all this money. I gave you all my love. And this is how you treat me. Yeah, you might be mad. But the best way to get back at a person who dumped you or a person who separated from you prematurely is to look like you're doing better without them. Don't get yourself thrown in jail. Don't sit there and cry and beg and stalk. Say, see ya. My life I'm doing good. I mean, be out there, enjoy life, and don't do it to get back at them. just if that is not the right person for you to be with. And I know a lot of people say, but you know what? It was me. I did something wrong. I could get them back. And I always talk to that person and say, but wait a second. What was their excuse? Is it something that was really kind of ticky-tack? Because then they're just not committed to this relationship long term, and the dumping's going to keep happening. So, sometimes it could actually be a good thing. Right? Because, like I said, maybe I can't use that word anymore. Okay, we just redefined dumped. The 1877 Doc Dolly, don't go away.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
Diesel fuel cetane levels.
in many states, the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts. Due to a cleaner burn, there are less hydrocarbons and particulate matter in your exhaust. This reduces the blockage of your diesel particulate filter. Using Diesel Extreme generates 83% less DPF regeneration. The 6-in-1 Diesel Extreme formula also includes the most concentrated detergent on the market, lubricity enhancer, water demulsifier, rust and corrosion inhibitors, and a fuel stabilizer.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret.
Powered by science.
We are back on the Dr. Dolly Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1877 Doc Dolly, 1877 DOCDALI. So we have some breaking news. We've been hearing rumblings that Attorney General Pam Bondi may be fired, and we are getting now sources saying that Pam Bondi has been removed as Attorney General. I'm sure we are going to get some more information in the next few minutes. As we get more information, we'll let you know. But from what we understand, President Donald Trump is not going to have Pam Bondi as his Attorney General. Now, she will be replaced, we are being told, by Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, according to a news source to CNN. Now, there has been a lot of, shall we say, criticism of how she handled the Epstein files. And this is something that has been, I think, very, very confusing. This is something that has been, I'm very confused because when Pam Bondi said she had the Epstein files and she would release them, okay, that's very easy, release them. But then if she got the Epstein files from Biden, then why didn't the Biden administration release them? I mean, especially if the Biden administration, the Democrats say there's dirt on Trump, you would think they would have, the second they got them, published everything. And so when we find out that it took the Trump administration to come in and say, we're going to be releasing the Epstein files that the Biden administration had, but then it was only released in certain aliquots, then what I perceived, and again, this is my limited view of the situation, is the releasing of the Epstein files isn't as easy as it sounds. All right, they're calling the Epstein files like you have a bunch of his emails and then you could just release them. And in these emails, you could at your leisure look through and see who he might have spoken to and enticed with his sex trafficking ring and invited and worked with. And so you would think, okay, well, this is what they're talking about because the Epstein files was named in the previous administration. So we were like, oh, then I guess the Biden administration has all the emails, not just, okay, this was his computer and we haven't looked at it yet, but that they already went through it. They already have the stacks and then they have the stacks to release and it didn't get released. So then Pam Bondi had said, this is what Trump wants. We're going to have the stack and we're going to release it. and then it doesn't happen. Now, is that her fault? Is that Trump's fault? Is that Biden's fault? Or is it that the media kept calling something, acting like it was a concrete stack of something, a finite number of files? And my impression is there's files, but it's chaotic and a mess. You have Jeffrey Epstein's dentist. Let's say you have dentist correspondence. And you have, let's say, correspondence with a nephew's coach about a nephew's game. And where nobody actually sifted through and did their due diligence with these so-called files, so that Biden's administration and then now Pam Bondi and Trump's administration can't just say this is what was on his computer. Because in this day and age, the media and people are crazy. And so if there's a little kid or a soccer coach or a dentist correspondence that now is under the Epstein files, but it wasn't gleaned properly because all somebody lazily did is say, here's his computer, now put it out there into the world. Now you have other people at risk. And the question I have is, well, why didn't anybody do? I mean, it should be pretty simple by now. I mean, what the Jeffrey Epstein had been tried years ago, had died in jail. We think murdered, but they say suicide. Ghislaine Maxwell tried in jail. There's been plenty of time for both administrations to actually properly label the Epstein files as but what my guess is the issue they have is it has been marketed as we have a list of files of somebody named John Doe. And John Doe worked with Jeffrey Epstein and went to the island. We have another file here of John Doe II and Jane Doe. And so people are thinking it's not. My guess is the Epstein files is like on your computer. It's a mess. And so my guess is the reason why the Biden administration couldn't just release them is there were going to be people named, just like what we saw with Whoopi Goldberg. Now everybody's all up in Whoopi Goldberg's business going, you're in the Epstein files. She's like, well, they needed to rent a plane. If you're going to call something the Epstein files, then that should be connoting that what's in the files are those individuals who took a part in the heinous crimes and the sex trafficking. But looks like it's the gross content of a computer that nobody has actually sifted through. And maybe they're like, well, we want to investigate Whoopi Goldberg first. And if Whoopi Goldberg's like, I didn't have anything to do with it, so now how long does that investigation go to get a person out of that Epstein files? Now, again, I could be wrong with all of this, but to me, you build the files from the ground up. I know it's easier to just take the whole computer and say, we got the files, and then glean out piece by piece. By the way, he had more than one computer. I mean, there's multiple computers and data but so it sounds like people were in such a rush that they decided to get the whole thing and say, well, now what we're going to do is take out piece by piece of whoever was probably innocent. And here we are years later, and they're not done. So then the media is like, wait a second, okay? You guys promised us in the Biden administration you'd release them. Pam Bondi and the Trump administration said they were going to release them. So they go, well, we're going to release some of them, the ones that have already been vetted. And then they had to redact certain names because you now have victims in there. And now the victims who wanted privacy and didn't want people to know that Jeffrey Epstein trafficked them, now they got to, with a fine-tooth comb, and not just rely on AI ensure that anything that goes out to the media gets protected. Because what goes out to the media then goes out to the public. And the public is scary. I mean, you're having people write in spray paint, kill ICE agents. I mean, we have people that are advocating murder. We have people celebrating the hostage, the hostages and the murders that Hamas did on Israelis and Americans. And so we have some pretty scary people out there. They get a name. They might decide to vilify somebody who was just reminding Jeffrey Epstein of his dental appointment. Now, I'm not saying that's what the case is, but that's my guess as to why this is such a cluster and a screw up. So, and when they keep saying the Jeffrey Epstein files, they're not talking about it being an evolving pile. They're talking about, well, we have the files already. And so the idea of whittling it down doesn't sit well with the media. What they should have said, starting in the Biden administration, is we are now building a stack of files of everybody we believe was involved. But somehow, I don't know who was running the investigation years ago, has this as a complete mess. And so, is Pam Bondi a scapegoat? Did she not do her job? I mean, she looks like she was doing her job. I mean, I don't think she was sleeping on the job. But we're going to get more details. But as we know right now, Trump has released her. 1-877 Doc Dolly, don't go away. Dr. Dahlia here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
Diesel fuel cetane levels.
in many states, the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts. Due to a cleaner burn, there are less hydrocarbons and particulate matter in your exhaust. This reduces the blockage of your diesel particulate filter. Using Diesel Extreme generates 83% less DPF regeneration. The 6-in-1 Diesel Extreme formula also includes the most concentrated detergent on the market, lubricity enhancer, water demulsifier, rust and corrosion inhibitors, and a fuel stabilizer.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
As an organ donor, your story doesn't have to end. The good in you can live on. In fact, you could save up to 8 lives and restore sight and health for many more. Sign up right now online as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. You'll be happy you did. And just maybe, someone else will be happy too. Go to organdonor.gov. It saves lives. U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
We are back on the Dr. Dahlia Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Doc Dolly, 1-877-DOCDALI. Well, appropriately so, Tiger Woods is stepping away from competing and serving on the PGA. I believe. I think he's. What was coming up next? Was it the PGA Tour? But from what we understand, he is actually the Masters, and he is not going to in the short term compete, so he could focus on his health and seek treatment. This is following his March 27th arrest in South Florida on suspicion of DUI. Now, body cam footage has been released, And it's pretty striking. As expected, he was very nice to the police officers. He was very cooperative. You see him kneeling on the side of the road, but you also see with the cop cam and the car cam footage, him falling asleep in the cop car, almost looking kind of relaxed. And then apparently he was also struggling with hiccups. And we talked about how hiccups and sweating can be signs of narcotics on board. And unfortunately, the 50-year-old champion rolled his SUV on Friday when he clipped, I think, the trailer of a truck accidentally. I think he was trying to pass. It was a small 2-lane road, and then he rolls over. Now, the other driver's okay. From what I understand, the other driver did not get hurt. But Martin County Sheriff's Office is now releasing the full video footage of the moments cops found him lethargic, sweaty, and unsteady. And you see him yawning in the car, trying to contain hiccups, falling asleep. But he was very cooperative, but he obviously didn't look like he was not under the influence. And they presume he was under the influence of narcotics, as there were a couple hydrocodone Lortab tablets in his pocket. Now, he said what happened is he looked down at his phone, and then all of a sudden, boom. That's what he told the officer. And he clipped the back of a pressure washer trailer. Thank God he's okay, because he's had multiple accidents in the past. He's had, over 20 surgeries on his leg, we're being told. And one of the reasons why he's on the pain medication is because of his medical issues. But for him to, on a beautiful morning with good weather, have this happen, it's suggesting he is struggling and requiring medication. It's suggesting that. We don't know exactly. Just because he had Lortab in his pocket doesn't mean that was what he had on board, because I think he did refuse a tox screen. But you can be under the influence by other substances that are not necessarily alcohol. His breathalyzer test was 0. And so, when things like this happen, it's very public. And, they're saying that, his eyes were bloodshot and glassy and extremely dilated and all that. And there's a lot of pressure on, first responders and public safety to not treat a celebrity any differently than anybody else. Now, of course, celebrities have the money to have expensive lawyers, and they're able to, get bail posted, unlike non-rich celebrities, but, or non-celebrities. But he, in Florida, the laws are the laws. And if he was under the influence, even if it was medication, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Is he going to be able to drive? Is he going to lose his driver's license? There was property damage. He also has been charged with refusal to submit to a lawful test. People have always asked me, and I'm not a lawyer. They always ask, they go, should I submit to a test or not? Should I say no? And I'm like, if you didn't do drugs, yes. If you, you should, obviously you should do the test. If you did do drugs, contact a lawyer, because if you did something that could possibly put you, and I guess the argument that some attorneys have is by the time somebody can court order a test, hopefully the medicine will be out of your system. But like I said, there's ways where they could, test your hair and other things to see if if you had medicines in your system. However, in terms of being under the influence, they have to have something that looks like it was acute and not in your system. This is one of the issues we're having with marijuana right now. With marijuana and testing marijuana, they're trying to perfect these breathalyzers. But, with marijuana, you take a hair test and marijuana could be in your system for a month based on your hair. How do we know that you were under the influence? Just because you smoked 3 weeks ago doesn't mean you were under the influence. So in terms of the law, they have to determine what was in your bloodstream then and now, and minutes count. And so, apparently he, was advised to say no, so there couldn't be a test done. And this is kind of what happened with this, I think, is 2021 rollover crash, where they really couldn't bust him for a DUI because he didn't have alcohol in his system right then and there when the breathalyzer test was taken, and he did not submit to a lawful test at the time. So I hope he gets help. It's a shame because he's a gifted athlete, but he's in pain. And in fact, with his multiple leg and ankle injuries, Woods had said his doctors actually considered an amputation, just like Lindsey Vonn. Now, if they can't get the bones to heal, and then an artificial leg, is considered. And so, that's really difficult. I feel bad for him. I really do. I mean, this is not easy. He shot up to fame really young. He's an exceptional athlete, but he is struggling, and he struggles with narcotics and other medicines. I think with the last accident, there was Valium, Dilaudid, Ambien, and I think hydrocodone on board. And so that's, I hope he gets help. I really do. I'm a big fan of his, but this is not safe. And we know that the president doesn't want him traveling his driving his grandkids around. So we'll see what happens. But I do hope he gets the help he needs. And I think he might be seeking help out of the country. I think he has requested to travel out of the country treatment facility. And that, there are many, there's places where celebrities could go for privacy. And, it's interesting because I trained at UCLA for part of my training, and you had a lot of stars come in. And everybody was really, and I can't name who because of HIPAA, but everybody was really professional with that. But then every now and then you hear somebody wasn't professional with Britney Spears or with whatever, and it's frightening to think that happens. And when your very private medical history goes public, and we keep talking about how how much public should our celebrity or our public officials' health issues be? Well, if you're commander in chief, and we need to know that you can still do the duties of office, there's more of an argument for there to be some public transparency in terms of your cognitive abilities, et cetera. But in terms of celebrities, they have every right to privacy. It was Aretha Franklin, who I was really proud of, where when she had pancreatic cancer and people were asking her about it, she was like, none of your damn business. Good for her. May she rest in peace. I'm a big Aretha Franklin fan. But with Tiger Woods, and now with body cam footage and with court cases, and it's you don't have a lot of privacy, especially if the law gets broken. So we keep hearing of Shia LaBeouf. Am I pronouncing his name right? We keep hearing about his issues. Why? Because there keeps being run-ins with the law. It's not that we're getting private medical records. We shouldn't be getting private medical records. But once there's an issue that's related to the law or crime, and then there's camera footage and witness footage and CCTV, that's going to get out there. And that's when people talk. And so if you want your privacy as a celebrity, just don't break the law or don't get yourself caught on camera. And it's not easy. So Tiger Woods shared with the PGA of America that he will not serve as captain of the U.S. Ryder Cup team in 2027. It's a shame, because I know he wanted to do that. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY. Don't go away. Hi guys, Dr. Dahlia here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping. Addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdahlia.com. Check it out.
Lisa Wolf here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you. And be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.